President Trump revealed plans on Twitter last night for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, to begin removing, quote, millions of illegal aliens as fast as they come in, starting next week. Amna Nawaz spoke to the top ICE administration official earlier today.
Here with me now is former chief of U.S. Border Patrol under the Obama administration and the current acting director of ICE, Mark Morgan. Director Morgan, welcome to the NewsHour.
Thank you.
So we heard there the president tweeted about this, a launch of mass arrests next week. He repeated that on the White House lawn just a little while ago. Is your agency launching mass arrests beginning next week?
Well, from a law enforcement perspective, I'm not going to confirm our operational activities for, I think, obvious reasons. But what I can say is the president is very clear with what he's tweeting out is that he wants to maintain the integrity of the system, and he wants to make sure that we're supporting and enforcing the rule of law. And that's really what this is about. That's really what the tweet is about, is that if you are here in violation of federal immigration law, regardless of what classification or demographic you fall within, that law is going to be applied to you fairly and justice across the board.
But the president is saying these will begin next week. You can't confirm if what the president is saying is true?
I'm not going to confirm from an operational capacity and stance of when we're actually going to do this.
In the process of launching some mass arrests, if you do so moving forward, as has been floated before, we've seen this happen in the past, right, where ICE agents will arrest a parent while the child is being dropped off at school or at work while children are in daycare. What would you do in that circumstance to make sure that children aren't left behind while parents are detained or deported?
So that's a good question. Let me tell you what we've done and what we will continue to do. Specifically with families, we have given them a tremendous amount of due process. We have made sure that they've had access to attorneys. We've made sure they've had access to legal counsel, interpreters. We made sure that they knew when and where they were supposed to go. We even worked with the Department of Justice to form expedited dockets so that families were put ahead of the line. And when we did that, over 90% failed to show up.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, though. There were stories back in January about fake dates being provided by ICE agents, meaning there was mass miscommunication. Families showed up, thousands of families showed up at a date that wasn't actually the date they were supposed to get. That was ICE's fault. How do you know the same thing isn't happening today?
So I would have to look at that data. I'm not sure that those numbers are correct, what you're telling me right now. But again, let me say that the due process has been provided. We have sent out over 2,000 letters once they received a final order of removal. And we said, hey, come in. Bring your family, work with ICE. We'll give you 30 days to get your affairs in order, and then we'll help return you to your country. And so right now, what I would tell these individuals that have had final orders, come to ICE, turn yourself in, right? Work with ICE, and we'll help remove you back to your country of origin, rather than ICE having to come out, agents having to come and try to track you down to enforce the rule of law. So I would tell these families, come work with ICE. Don't make us go after you and get you.
Are you worried that the president's tweet or public statement in any way endangers the safety of ICE agents?
I think that's always a concern, but right now the message we're trying to get out there is to really make them aware that we are going to enforce the rule of law. What we hope is going to happen is just what I said, is that they're actually going to work with us. They're going to come and turn themselves into ICE agents, and we will work with them to remove them to their countries. We don't want to have to go and track them down into the neighborhoods and the cities. We don't want that. And I don't want that for the families.
But you are concerned that your own agents could be put at risk by the president publicizing this in advance?
No, I'm not concerned that the agents will be put at risk. They're professionals. They know exactly what they need to do, and they have the tools and training to make sure that they conduct these operations within safety for themselves as well as the individuals that are trying to apprehend.
Well, last year, when the Oakland mayor publicized to her community an impending raid, the Trump administration said that she was putting agents' lives at risk. Do you think it's different now?
I see this differently because, again, you've asked me to give specifics, and I'm not giving specifics. My recollection of that, the mayor actually gave specifics, more detailed information about the rest in specific cities. Right now, those specifics aren't out there.
Senator Lindsey Graham said today that we need to prioritize people who are here illegally that present a security threat of some kind. You are already over the congressionally funded limit of people in detention. You were funded for 42,000 beds. You're at a record high 52,000 detainees on any given day. If you were to prioritize people, wouldn't that lessen the stress on the system, improve conditions for detainees?
So hardworking men and women of ICE every day prioritize. And our priorities will always be to remove those individuals who pose a violent threat to this country, rapists, pedophiles, murderers. That has been and that will always be our priority. But having a priority doesn't mean then you ignore and exempt other categories. Priority does not mean you ignore certain categories, and that's what we're doing right now. We need to make sure that we send the right message that if you come here, you receive due process, and you receive an order of removal, that you should be removed. The rule of law should be applied to you equally, and that's what this is about.
Of the nearly 160,000 people arrested by ICE last year, there only 3% had final deportation orders. Over 54,000 had absolutely no criminal record. How is that a safety and security priority?
Again, I'll reiterate that the threat priority will always be the same. So if you look at those numbers, the majority of them were criminals, though. So through our criminal apprehension program, working with our sheriff's offices, the majority of people that we are removing, that we are arresting, are in fact criminal aliens.
34% though were not, and they are going into facilities that are already near or past capacity. 24 people have died in ICE detention in the Trump administration, 3 since April alone. So if you were to lessen the number of people in custody, would that not help to make sure no one else dies on your watch?
No, I think you're mixing two things that are completely unrelated. Again, we have to focus about the rule of law and the integrity of the system. If you come here in violation of federal law, you should have consequences applied. The rule of law should be enforced. And just because you're not a criminal alien doesn't mean we shouldn't enforce the law. If we do that, the integrity has no system. If we do that, the entire process to include a removal order by a judge is meaningless if we never apply. And that's what they understand. If you come here with a child, that's a passport in the United States, and once you get here, if nothing ever happens to you, the pull factor is unbelievable. They're going to keep coming with a child, get in here, nothing happens to you. That's a slippery slope, and no integrity in the system, and the rule of law is being eroded if we don't apply consequences.
None of that changes the fact that in your detention centers right now, watchdog groups have found egregious violations, inadequate medical care. I'll mention again, 24 people dying in your detention centers over the last year. What are you doing to stop that?
So every single day, we're trying to improve what we do. And if you look nationally, the statistics on the facilities that we have is that we are trying to improve. The IG came out with a report that talked about conditions in 2018. We've met every single one of those conditions. And I think we can always get better, and we are striving to get better. But that's a different issue than the issue of enforcing the rule of law and making sure that there's integrity in the system.
Another investigation found that ICE has been improperly deporting military veterans. One immigration advocate said there could be as many as 2,000. Do you know how many military veterans you've deported?
So I don't have that level of detail at this point.
Do you intend to find out?
But again, of course, I've been on the job for 3 weeks, and I'll continue to do everything I can to get better at what we do. But that still does not remove the need to enforce the law against people that are here illegally and to try to stop the humanitarian crisis. And the best way that we can do that is to apply consequences that those that have final removal orders. If we do that, we'll send a message to stop coming, to stop taking that dangerous trek. Right now, we have children that are being bought. They are being rented and brought across the border as a fake family and then being recycled and being rented again. That's something we should all be concerned about. If we apply the rule of law and apply consequences, that's going to stop happening. All Americans should be concerned about that and get behind that.
Acting Director of ICE, Mark Morgan, thanks for being here.
You bet. Thank you.